is Headline Humboldt. I'm James Faulk. Thanks for joining us. About a year into this pandemic, we're all anxiously watching a new administration take control of our health and economic responses. We're watching for signs that our long-listing ship of state has been righted and that the vast resources of the American federal government are finally being effectively organized to respond. So far, there's been a lot of noise and effort in that regard, but the jury is still out. The next few weeks will tell us much. Federal officials are promising that more vaccine supply is on the way, as is an increasing predictability in distribution. Our county has moved into Tier 1B, but only just so. We're still focused mostly on vaccinating people 75 years and older, but have also begun to deliver vaccination to others, such as educators, whose services are vital for our eventual recovery. People over 75 especially should be receiving invitations from their healthcare providers. But if those are not forthcoming, and if other people want to sign up now for when their appointments do become available, the county has established an interest form on its website, humboldtgov.org. Anyone can sign up. Over the next few weeks, 2 local pharmacies will join the vaccination fight as well by offering shots in their stores. The National Guard is also looking into establishing federally run distribution centers, and the feds will work with community and Indian health centers to help make sure our vaccination efforts proceed equitably. These are positive developments, but as our public health officer Ian Hoffman pointed out this week during a town hall with Congressman Huffman, more on that later, we have the places, we have the people. What we really need is the supply. A new one-shot vaccine from Johnson & Johnson is apparently in the offing and has just begun the process of seeking an emergency use authorization from the FDA. This will certainly help. But to offer and then strain an analogy, we've got the car, the driver, the map, and the destination. But until we gas up the tank and slam down the accelerator, we're stuck with one slow stride at a time. Now the interview. Incoming Humboldt County Planning Commissioner Tom Mulder, appointed by new 2nd District Supervisor Michelle Bushnell, will add a vital perspective to the county development and regulatory processes. He was sworn in this week and had his first meeting last night. He's long been an advocate for the local cannabis industry, and it's an honor for us to have him here tonight on our show. Welcome, Tom. Are you there?
Yeah, it's a quick clarification. It's Thomas. My dad's Tom. I go by Thomas.
All right, Thomas. I'm sorry about that. Thank you for the clarification. So let's start with cannabis. The state and county over the last couple of years have been working to implement legalization. How do you think they've done so far? How would you grade that process?
The state and the county. So I'm going to compartmentalize that and go state.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of broken parts. There's a lot of things that didn't go right. The smaller farmer kind of got left out of a lot of things, and then that materialized into Humboldt County and stuff. What's the definition of small farmer? Mm-hmm. Realistically, if they would have left that acre cap on there, half of what you're seeing where people are coming here just to make as much money as possible, like that whole green rush mentality. And I think as far as the county level, the biggest thing, that the note that I wrote is, I go back to small farms. Those are people, families that build this community, have kind of gotten pushed out by regulations, and they couldn't afford the property. They weren't there yet, and they couldn't afford the property. I think it'd be nice to see, as far as the county to do better, I'd like to see that new small farmer ordinance for 2,000 square feet that they passed. I'd like to see them to take the abatement money and just let the first 50 small farmers, 2,000 square feet that want to sign up, use that abatement money. That's reparations from the environmental crimes. Give them back to the families that, they're going to stay here in Homestead and build this a better place.
Yeah. So from what you're saying, it basically sounds like the green rush, a lot of people moved in here to take advantage of the fact maybe of our Humboldt brand, that sort of thing. It caused land prices to go up and priced out local farmers. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, people came here and wanted to extract a resource. It happened in cycles beforehand. There's fishing over, I don't know a lot about that. There's a logging, and then there's sustainable forestry, and then that Maxam Corporation. I was born in '83, so I don't know all the history of it, but long and short of it, it's just people coming here to extract resources rather than people that want to live here, raise their children and their grandchildren.
Yeah, absolutely. Create community, obviously. So how would you, I mean, if you had control over what, was the law, and to some extent you do have some say now, but what would be the changes you'd make immediately to help make it more amenable for small family farms?
Small family farms, I would feel that, they kind of just, they've done that a little bit. They backed off the abatement process. They put in a new ordinance so that way hopefully people can go ahead and get licensed. But then there's also the small people that want a recreation. I think they did that with the 400 square feet. Mm-hmm. If I could just do one thing, I would turn this policy around and for the families that have been abated, like real hardworking families, people under 5,000 square feet. Actually, not even that. If you really want people to go in and homestead, let some of those, let people take up these properties, and as long as they've been here for 5 years or something like that, then eventually they can get a permit on TPZ land or something, it's already got clearings. The more and more I'm realizing neighborhood and community is so important, mm-hmm. because whenever people care about the community they live in, the street, the water course, the whatever it is, they watch out for each other, and the crime drops down. And I could go on for about an hour because I'm really passionate about that. Yeah, no,
I hear that. I think, to sort of paraphrase a little bit about what you're saying, it's like adding flexibility to allow for people who are actually going to build the community could go a long way. I had a conversation last week with Eureka City Councilman Scott Bauer, and his day job is marijuana enforcement for the state. And I was kind of surprised to learn that the black market is alive and well in Humboldt County, and he attributed some of that to the fact that it's difficult and expensive for people to legalize, and so there still is a significant draw for people to grow illegally. Do you see that to be the case, and what do you think we could do to control the urge for people to grow illegally?
Well, number one, I said that earlier, I think we were off camera, it's been overtaxed. Mm-hmm. Like I said, an eighth for farmers getting, $10 to $13, $14 an eighth, and the consumer's paying $35 to $50 an eighth. Wow. And the cost sharing, they want a wholesale. So there's people that are quote unquote in the black market that are just, shipping to other people that need medicine. And the thing is, there's some of those people there's some of them that are doing it for other reasons, and there's some of them that are doing it to feed their families. I think we need to focus more on environmental crimes. Mm-hmm. And if you really want to, same thing, community, you want to go after the black market, the negative, the crime and all that happens in environmental degradation, mm-hmm. go after the people that are, and messing the environment up. If you see someone, even if they're 5,000 square feet and it's just a family there and they aren't sucking out of the creeks or the streams, let them be. Too many of the people that are literally here to extract resources have been basically a free-for-all. There's slang terms out there of different multinational groups that, run things, and it's not okay. And then other problem is there's a need for high quality weed, mm-hmm. cannabis, high quality, and it's federally illegal. So there's a need all over the country, and people are supplying that need. I've seen documentaries on like I said, I wasn't born yet, but how the America wanted cocaine and people are supplying it. So it's a tough one for me, because I think too much of a stick, too much of fear, mm-hmm. has gone into, people are scared. I was heckled by friends when I just said, hey, I'm going to go legal. And they're like, oh, you're an idiot. I've been held at gunpoint.
Wow.
There's so much trauma inside the soul of the people that were born and raised and went through this drug war, mm-hmm. that I think the enforcement needs to just turn on its head and look at the people, like investigate the people before they go serve the warrants. Investigate, go after that type of thing, Yeah. And I think you get back to those people that are here for the right reasons because they love this place. It's beautiful. If you love this place and beautiful, you're not going to suck a creek dry.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to do those kind of things. If you're just here to make money, you don't care about what those people's grandkids look at.
Absolutely.
So I'm all for development, but I mean, if you get the people that are doing nothing but extracting resources, you know, you start working on that enforcement, I believe Scott Bauer would see a lot better community. So
yeah, absolutely. Do you think the county has responded appropriately in terms of, actually, let me go back a little bit. You own a business, right? And it's a marijuana or cannabis centric, is that right?
yeah, I'm CEO of Humboldt Redwood Healing, a majority owner, yes.
Excellent. Now, so how would you say that COVID, I mean, obviously everything these days surrounds COVID, but how do you think that the cannabis industry has been impacted by the COVID pandemic, and what do you think the county can do to help vendors survive?
Well, I mean, the cannabis industry locally with COVID,
Yeah.
Those of us that were able to operate, the year was way better than the last year.
Oh.
Some people attribute that to people are actually relaxing, slowing down, enjoying the smoke, hear themselves, like enjoy. It's true medicine, and some people like to use it as, you know, to shut out reality. And there's a lot of people are able to work from home. So, you know, a lot of people I know, they'd work better and more effective if they're smoking, but at their job they can't, or whatever, especially like paperwork, you know, not dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as producing it on the work end, it made a lot of precautions. You have to we broke up into pairs and stuff like that. And it really, a lot of people I know had crop loss, and people I've talked to, because they would use a farm contract, not from another world, but like, you know, a group of, there's farm labor contractors and stuff like that around here. You know, people use that, and then they're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do that because they're bouncing place to place.
For like trimming people and stuff is what you're referring to, right?
Not even trimming. I mean, trimming, if you need help there, you just go to send it to a processing facility. I was saying like harvesting and planting. That those days take a lot of work.
Sure.
Especially harvest if you had rain and early mold and that kind of stuff. No, trimming, everyone's got that figured out. There's no rush to trim it all anyways. The old school, the founding fathers, the people that formed this culture here, I mean, everyone knew what everyone grew, and they controlled the market. They, once supply was over, you know, we know how to store, we know how to pull it out, and it's amazing. That's why, you know, people back in the day would come to reggae, and that was before light dep and all that, and people would get double for what was the same thing in December.
Yeah.
So
a lot of expertise developed over those generations. There. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk now that the new Democratic congressional majorities are talking about legalization. Or how do you think that would impact Humboldt County growers? And do you think are you in favor of that? I guess
I'm in favor of federal legalization. I want to see them tie in releasing the people that are in, you know, for drug crimes. You know. If it's not done right, if the pharmaceutical industry is allowed to take a hold of it, if, for lack of a better term, the suits and ties and extractors, the people that are just there to make money, it could really hurt Humboldt County.
Sure.
But if the people that really, really care and it means something are able to stay there, I mean, the reason a lot of people grew up in this culture, it was the last free culture. You could go from below poverty to a middle-class citizen, and you're not robbing from people, you're not killing people, and you're not sucking the environment dry.
Yeah. And
you know, it was a chance for your family to step up a class, and that's why a lot of people were able to do it, and that's why they did it, and that's why we kept it quiet.
I mean, I grew up here, and I have friends who were drawn into the industry for precisely those reasons. My last question, we have about a minute left. What percentage do you think, I mean, you talk about the legal marijuana industry, and then you talk about what's been legalized and permitted and all that kind of stuff. What percentage do you think is of each at this moment? Are we have we matched our illegal grow revenues with legal stuff, or are we still way overbalanced one way or the other?
I'd say we're over. I would say overbalanced. I mean, look at what happened in Fortuna. I mean, I saw they had 62,000 plants. And the biggest thing is with the regulations, everyone's going. I mean, people are going back inside. So I mean, you can't use heat detection by law to pick up those indoors and the diesel grows and stuff like that. And I think we get a little worried about over-regulating the regulated side, and basically we're just promoting. When you over-regulate something, you create a demand on the other side. And I think if we want to see true balance, we talk about things from a whole. Having places where it's affordable people, the workers to live. There's so many Murata things, and if you got to make it enticing. Yeah. And it's
we are
it's
out of
not
time.
enticing to some, and
Thomas,
I know lots of people. It is. Yeah.
Well, sorry, we're out of time. This has been a fascinating discussion. I'd love to have you back.
Okay.
But we have a limited amount of time tonight.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend.
All right, you too.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And after that, we'll be back after this short break.
Charged with inciting a violent insurrection.
We will never give up. We will never concede.
Out of power and on trial again.
The whole world bore witness to the violence that was used.
What will the Senate decide?
The mob was fed lies.
And what will it mean for the country? The second Trump impeachment trial, a PBS NewsHour special, Tuesday, February 9th at 1 p.m.
North Coast Congressman Jared Huffman this week convened a virtual town hall to discuss the COVID response in Humboldt and Mendocino counties, and also to answer constituent questions. Huffman described Biden's plan to deliver at least 100 million vaccination shots in 100 days and praised the incoming administration for all the progress it's made in changing the tone and tenor of our national response.
First of all, we're less than 2 weeks into the new Biden administration. And even though it's only been a few days, I want you to know that I already see major changes in our national response to this pandemic. We've obviously got new people in place. They are really the best of the best at what they do. Our top experts are not being muzzled. They are the ones we're hearing from at press events and briefings and other things. And there's a new focus on science, on consistent messaging, on transparency, on accountability. And on one of the things that I've been asking for, the better part of a year for our federal government to utilize, the Defense Production Act. It is this really powerful tool that exists only for the federal government that lets them literally commandeer manufacturing capacity in emergencies so that we don't have chronic shortages of things like PPE. And we can even do that for aspects of the vaccination program. So I'm delighted that this is finally being more seriously utilized. Now, this 100-day plan that you've been hearing about is not only about vaccines. There are also mask orders for federal property, for various modes of transportation, airports, airplanes, trains, buses. There's new procurement and distribution strategies for testing and PPE, again, including use of that Defense Production Act. But the centerpiece is their goal of vaccinating at least 100 million people in the first 100 days, hopefully a lot more.
To clarify, 100 million shots in 100 days means just that. As the following clip from President Joe Biden points out, 100 million injections does not amount to 100 million vaccinations.
After you hit the goal of 100 million shots in 100 days. Now that means fewer than 100 million people getting totally vaccinated. It means 100 shots. And it means somewhere between 60, maybe less, maybe more million people will have because it requires 2 shots in many cases, not always.
Humboldt County's own public health officer, Dr. Ian Hoffman, took part in the district-wide meeting this week and emphasized that the largest hurdles so far have been all about supply. He also said 2 local pharmacies will soon offer vaccinations thanks to a national effort to broaden distribution facilities.
Supply is really the main issue at hand right now. In Humboldt, we've mostly moved through the phase 1A healthcare workers and started into phase 1B in the first tier with 75 plus. The 75 plus is a really important group because that's where the vast majority of deaths and hospitalizations and severe disease occur. So we have focused on that as the sort of the foundation of moving through that group. We also have 2 pharmacies who are currently vaccinating, or one that's been vaccinating, one that's about to start vaccinating through the federal partnership that was mentioned with the Biden administration. So we have a Safeway who's been booking patients, mostly phase 1A healthcare workers. And then starting next week, we have a CVS here that's going to start working through the federal partnership.
State Assemblyman Jim Wood answered a constituent question about Blue Shield's new role in vaccine distribution statewide. Some have expressed concern that an insurance company could have suspect motivations and interests that could very well impact the delivery of vaccines. While Blue Shield is a not-for-profit organization, it has faced criticism in the past for some of its political behavior, and in 2015 the group lost its tax-exempt status.
The role of Blue Shield in this is going to be about getting those vaccines out to the providers. That's going to be their primary role, and so we've got all these community providers, whether it's FQHCs and hospitals and others. Their role is going to be able to get that out and hopefully in a steady stream, so that some of this lack of predictability that you're seeing at with the counties and when doses are going to come in will be eliminated. So, I think there were a lot of people who said, "Oh my goodness, an insurance company? Why an insurance company?" Blue Shield is a not-for-profit insurance company, so they're not going to make money on this. They're going to get reimbursed for some of the costs to help the state, but they're not going to make money on this. And I think that's a really important point. The other point is that they have, and while they may not have a real presence in Humboldt County, they have, of any company in the state, the broadest penetration of the market and the best understanding of the providers. And so while we're still waiting to see a lot of how some of these details are going to work out, I haven't seen the contract yet. But just want to ensure that they're not going to be making money on this. This is purely about helping us to streamline the process, and hopefully it won't be more complicated. We've been in the background pushing on that. This needs to be as easy as possible for everyone.
Hava Phillips, a registered nurse with the county's vaccine task force, addressed the media late this week to discuss the county's vaccination efforts and what people should expect moving forward. Having been vaccinated is not a license to travel whenever and wherever you choose, she said.
It is potentially still possible, even when vaccinated, to be contagious if you are exposed to the disease. The vaccine prevents symptoms, but if a person is exposed, exposure essentially means that some virus has gotten into your body, and it's possible that there is a period of time before your immune system is able to get rid of that virus entirely, where some of it could spread to others. And so in order to protect our communities and our families, the guidance remains not to travel at all if you can possibly avoid it.
She also pointed out that in every interaction we have to assume no vaccinations have been given. Even if someone is from a group that has had shots made available, some have fallen through the cracks and still others have chosen to forego the treatment.
For any vaccine group that we have vaccinated or will vaccinate, there are certainly some people in that group who don't choose to be vaccinated for a variety of reasons. It can be medical, it can be personal. So, even if you're working within a community that has largely been able to be vaccinated, it's important not to assume that the people that you're working with have been vaccinated.
If you're tired of lacking 2 of the 3 major networks on your cable and now district TV subscriptions, take heart. Congressman Huffman has taken up the issue. He sent a letter this week to Cox Media Group urging them to restore access to a number of channels following its failed negotiations on retransmission consent agreements with AT&T and DirecTV. This second blackout, the first impacted Suddenlink, means more than 25,000 constituents in Huffman's district cannot receive Channel 3 or Channel 6. My constituents are tired of these finger-pointing exercises where big media conglomerates blame each other while consumers get screwed by blackouts, Huffman said. I'm sure there's some blame to go around, but Cox is the common denominator in the two recent blackouts. At a minimum, that suggests they're not working proactively to protect consumers. At worst, it suggests they're using consumers as hostages by letting blackouts happen to maximize their negotiating leverage. Either way, it's unacceptable. In such deadlocked instances, federal law requires that TV stations and cable or satellite operators negotiate in good faith. Options for service in Huffman's largely rural district are few, so Cox Media's suggestion to consumers that they switch providers has angered many. In her weekly video statement, Eureka Mayor Susan Seaman on Friday outlined how her constituents could access COVID tests and potentially vaccinations through HumboldtGov.org. She also emphasized the need for continued vigilance in masking and in keeping safe distances.
There's a lot of energy around vaccine distribution right now, but the truth is it could be months before some of us are slated to receive our shots. One way we know we'll be notified when it's time for our vaccine is to complete the COVID-19 vaccine interest form for individuals. You can find that form at HumboldtGov.org. Once you submit it, a confirmation email will be sent to you saying that it was received. Then you wait. And when a clinic is scheduled for your priority group, and those groups are laid out by the California Department of Health, you'll be contacted. Filling out the form does not place a resident ahead of someone in a higher priority group, but it will help make sure citizens are contacted when it is their turn. It's especially important to complete it if you don't have a primary care physician. And please encourage those you know to fill out the form as well. While waiting for the vaccine, it's important to stay vigilant about the spread of COVID-19. One of the best things you can do for the community is to get tested. Some people with the virus are asymptomatic or have very mild symptoms. Testing allows those cases to be caught and limit the spread. The test is free and easy, and you can make an appointment at the OptumServe testing site at Redwood Acres Fairgrounds 7 days a week. Appointments can be made at ihi.care/COVID testing. You can also call 888-634-1123.
We are out of time for tonight. Once again, thanks for sharing your Friday evening with us here at KEET TV. So far in this pandemic, 2,907 Humboldt County residents have tested positive for coronavirus. This week, we've maintained a steady and uncomfortably high number of new infections. Today alone saw 11 new hospitalizations. While the county reporting that age spread is all over the map on those infections, you don't have to be old to get this illness, and you don't have to be sickly to die from it. Keep your face covered, stay a decent distance away from people, stay tuned, stay informed.